Good morning. Today is Friday. It is the fourth day of Tamuz. Coming from yesterday, the Gimel Tamuz went to the oil. The Rebbe certainly is giving the brachas to each and every one of us. So today we're finishing the chapter 11 of the Shaar Hayichud VEHAEMUNA, the part in the Tanya that talks about the creation, about the oneness of Hashem and the faith in Hashem. And this has 12 chapters. We're finishing today the 11th chapter. So yesterday we were talking about the Asara Ma'amoris, the 10 utterances that Hashem used to create this world. And we explained that just like Hashem's attributes are one with Hashem, and they're not, in the eyes of Hashem, considered a separate thing, only in our eyes, so too the utterances, the ma'amoris, that Hashem used to create this world, it's one with Hashem. And in our eyes, it is a separate thing. And we use the example of the light of the sun. While it's in the sun itself, the light does not have its own existence. It is part of the sun itself. Now, today, the Alter Rebbe continues to tell us that using the concept, the term of the utterances, using the term letters, those are terms that we use in the human condition. And as we explained earlier, that there are five levels. First you have the chachma, the thought, then it comes to the intellect, leads to emotions. The emotions lead to letters, and the letters lead to speech, and the speech leads to action. Those are the 5 steps in the human condition. So basically, the letters are a 3rd level step. So when we talk about the letters that Hashem used, so to speak, to create the world, like the letters Aleph, Vav, and Reish, which makes the word Or, which means light. Those letters, says the Alter Rebbe in today's lesson, we should not mistake to think that they are superior to the intellect, because we're only using the term letters in relation to Hashem's emotions. But in relation to us, in relation to our intellect, it is way above our intellect. In fact, it creates our intellect. So this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain in today's shiur. Let's see it inside.
Question beforehand, if I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Interrupting. Can you repeat what you said about the sun and the light? I know we mention this almost every day. The light is not something regarding the sun. My question, I guess, is what is the sun? What you say the sun is not the rays. The rays are not the sun. I'm a little unclear on all
Yeah,
that.
we used this example that the Rabbi used it to say that the ray of the sun obviously exists in the sun, but not as its own separate existence. It is one with the sun itself. It is one with Hashem himself. Same thing, that the attributes that Hashem uses, that it brings out from him, so to speak, the attributes to create this world, yet these attributes are one in the essence of Hashem himself. It's not a separate thing. And this is one of the things Alter Rebbe explained, that this is really beyond our understanding. It is in the realm of Emunah, the realm of faith. So let's see inside, and we'll take more questions in the end of the class, unless you have something you need to clarify, don't hesitate, unmute yourself, and you can ask questions. So let's look inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, Aval be'emes, talking about the letters. Be'emes, says the Alter Rebbe, in truth, Bchinas oisiyos hadibur shelemaylo hilemaylo maylo mimadregas umehus chachma v'seichel hanivroim. In truth, however, the supernal letters of speech are far higher than the level and essence of the wisdom and intellect of created beings. In this, they differ from the letters of man's thought and speech, which are inanimate and belong to a level far lower than intellect. When we think about letters, we're not thinking about a living thing, something which has life. It is much lower than the intellect. The Alter Rebbe now demonstrates that the supernal letters of speech transcend men's intellect and wisdom. Shaar b'mayma v'oisiyos nase Adam b'tzalmeinu nivra ha'adam ba'al chachma v'seichel. For man, possessor of wisdom and intellect, was created by the utterance and the letters of the phrase, let us make man in our image. So since wisdom and intellect are derived from the letters, it is obvious that the letters themselves are far superior to them. And the Alter Rebbe says not only the letters, but even the hevel, the divine breath, which makes the letters. He says, for man, possessor of wisdom and intellect, was created even by the divine breath alone. As it is written, and he breathed into his nostrils a soul of life. It was from this breath that was breathed into man that he became a rational being. Im kain, therefore, hadibur vehevel elyon hu moker hachma v'seichel shebenishmas adam orishain. Hence, since divine speech and breath created man who possesses wisdom and intellect, it follows that the divine speech and breath are the source of wisdom and intellect in the soul of Adam. And the soul of Adam, Adam Rishon, the first man, he says something interesting. He says, "Hakoileles kol neshamis hatzadikim sheim gdoilim mimalachei hasharis," which contains all the souls of the tzaddikim who are superior to the ministering angels and whose intellect too is superior to that of the angels. All this came forth from the divine speech and breath. So he says over here two things. Number one, Adam Arishon has a neshama, a soul, and his soul contains all of the souls of the tzaddikim. And in fact, if Adam Arishon would not have sinned, Adam would have been the tzaddik of the generation for eternity. We all have the neshamas of Adam, except after he sinned, that was taken away, not from Adam, but from the future generations. And it came back by Abraham. And ultimately, Yaakov Avinu completed the image of Adam Arishon, as it explains in the Kabbalah. And the second thing the Alter Rebbe says here is that the neshamas of the tzaddikim are even greater than the ministering angels. The Alter Rebbe once said that if an angel walks in to a room with 10 Jews, the angel would be burnt and evaporated from the holiness of the 10 Jews. And he's not talking about of tzaddikim, regular Jewish people. And because the soul, the neshama that a Jew possesses is so holy, so powerful, except we don't have the tools to sense it. But the malachim that do have the tools to sense it, the angels, they would be burned by the holiness of the neshamas. So, and in any case, what the Alter Rebbe is saying, that all of these neshamas, everything came from where? From the letters that Hashem formed to create this world. So that's why the Alter Rebbe demonstrates that the letters is not, we shouldn't think with our image of letters in this world, but we're talking about much spiritual, higher letters. Vehaemuna, lefi she'oisiyos diburos barach, ein b'chinas hamshachos koichos v'chayos midosav yisbarach. The reason for the transcendence of the supernal letters over the soul is that the letters of God's speech are effluences of power and life force from his emotive attributes. They're drawn down from the emotional, emotive attributes of Hashem. And those emotive attributes are one with Hashem. Shehu lemayla mayla le'ein kates mimadregas chachma shebanivroim, which are united with his essence and being in a perfect unity that is infinitely higher than the level of wisdom in created beings. Then why is it called letters? Why do we use the term letters? Describing Hashem's bringing down the light, the energy. Says the Alter Rebbe, "V'lo nikru b'shem oisiyos legabe anivroim, elo legabe midosav yisborech b'chvaydam u'be'atzveh." They are termed letters not in relation to created beings, but only relative to God's emotive attributes themselves. Because God's emotive attributes are much higher, are infinitely higher than what is drawn down in the form of letters. That's why it's called letters in relation to Hashem's emotive attributes. Vehine hein chov beis minei amshoches chayus vekoichos sheinim zemizeh. And the supernal letters, are 22 kinds of effluences of life force and power differing from one another. Just like we have 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet and they differ from one another, the same thing, there are 22 different effluences of life force that come from Hashem. Shebahem nivra'u kol ha'olamois elyonim v'tachtonim v'kol ha'bruim shebeteichel, by which all of the higher and lower world and all the creatures in them were created. So why do we have 22 letters? Says the Alter Rebbe, why? Because that was the Hashem's will. Shekach Allah birtzoyne v'chachmasa yisbarach livroi ha'olam b'chavbeis minei amshachas shoynes davke lo yipochos v'lo yosef. For so it arose in God's will and wisdom that he create the world with exactly 22 different kind of effluence, neither fewer nor more. Vehein hein chavbeis oisiyos akvuos bepeveloshain kedetnan besefer yetzira. And these are the 22 letters which are fixed in the mouth and tongue, as we have learned in Sefer Yetzira, which is a Kabbalistic book. Utmunosam bechsav imoire al tziyur ha'amshocha k'moi she'izbayer lekavon. The written shape, meaning the shape of the letters of these utterances, as written in the Torah, indicates the form of the flow as will be explained later. That's in the next chapter. Alter Rebbe explained how the form and the shape of the letters, each one has a meaning, and they represent the way that it is drawing down the Hamshacha. And Shegam Oisi Eisadibu V'Hamachshava Shebenefesh Ha'adam Hinam Shoches Me'aseichel V'Amida Shebenefesh Mimahusan Ve'atzmuson K'may Shemevuer B'Mokaim Acher. For the letters of speech and thought in the human soul are also outflows from the essence and being of the intellect and the emotive attributes, as is explained elsewhere. So this was one example you can use for the understanding that the shape of the letters. As you can think of letters, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz wrote a book also on Tanya, and he explains the different shape of and letters. So he explains, for example, the letter shape of the Gimel and the Dalet. So it says in Hasidus, in Kabbalah explains the letters Gimel and Dalet. Gimel is from the word Gemol, which means Gemilut Chasadim, which means giving to the poor. Dalad is from the word Dal. Dal means poor. So the Gimel gives to the Dalad. So if you look into the letters, let me just illustrate this. How can we do it? Let's use a whiteboard. So if you use the letter Gimel, this is a Gimel. So I said the Gimel, it looks like the person walking, and you have the bottom, you have the leg like is towards the next one. And it says, then the Gimel gives to the Dalad. The Dalad is like, he has his back to the Gimel. He has his back to the Gimel. Because, the receiver is embarrassed to receive. But yet on the top you have a little thing that's sticking out, telling the Gimel, don't forget me. Yes, I do need something from you. So this is, as he explained, Rabbi Steinsaltz, the concept of the Gimel and the Dalet. And in Kabbalah, there's a lot about this. Trying to get out of this. There's a lot about the concept of the letters and how the letters, each letter shows what is the meaning of the giving, what this represents in the energy that comes from Hashem through these letters. So, there we go. So this is the end of today's shiur. I want to wish everyone a good and wonderful Shabbos. When you listen on YouTube, please subscribe, share, and come on live every day, 9 a.m. And you can see the link on the bottom, the link to this class, this daily class. All the best and a wonderful Shabbos.
Question.